Dr. Anita with another diamond moment. As you know, diamonds, the diamonds of your life, are produced through time, heat, and pressure. What we've gathered here today to do is to continue to evaluate the challenges of our lives, to continue to challenge those things that have limited us, that have caused us to lose out on opportunity or not be able to join freely the things that we'd like to do. We've been looking at tough questions, asking ourselves challenging questions, looking at the people around us, their influence in our lives, but really digging deep. If you guys haven't done so, I would really suggest listening to my story. I went through my story in the first few episodes of the podcast, so go back and check that out. I've experienced some really devastating losses, and the information, the advice, the wisdom or the knowledge that I share with you is based off of how I saw my life change. I didn't have a foundation at that time that would have helped me to overcome the various challenges of my own life. But I began to see my life change as I began to utilize some of the skill sets, some of the tools that I've been sharing with you. I talked to you about the fact that in my losses, one of my major losses was that I lost myself. I lost an understanding of who I was. I was so enmeshed in a relationship that I lost myself, and how to walk out of that relationship and regain your own person is part of my story. So in doing so, I had to learn to challenge myself. I had to learn to look at the things that were frightening for me. I had to learn to not allow myself to be limited by what I knew, but to move forward in what I wanted, what I sincerely wanted for my own life. To be able to look at my day-to-day and determine, is this something that is going to hinder me, or is this something that's going to help me? And then to be willing to release or relinquish the things that were not helpful in order to accomplish the goals that I had for myself, in order to be a better example for my son, in order to be a better human being living in this world, and in order to have the self-esteem that I needed in order to be my best. I had to ask myself tough questions. I had to sit sometimes in the discomfort and just think about it. You know, I've learned so many times that people run from that which is hard, that which is more difficult. The last thing they want to think about is something that hurt them, not realizing that the diamond is contained in that situation. That when you stop and you sit in it, even if it is uncomfortable, until you're able to extract the good from that situation, and then use it, combine it with who you are in order to bring out strength that you may not have had before. So as we move forward in asking ourselves tough questions, I want to ask you this. Are you viewing yourself through antiquated eyes? Are you looking at your current situation through antiquated eyes? Is everything antique in your thoughts? This is how it used to be. This is how I used to be. And this is how I will always be. Or are you using your experiences in order to update who you are? If you have not, if you have allowed a programmed limitation to determine your life's progress, I want to challenge you to get out of the box. I want to ask you some other tough questions. And that is, what is your self-identity based on? What is your self-identity based on? Did you base it on you as a helpless child? Are you still operating under the assumption that everyone else has power that you do not have? That everybody else knows better for you than you know for yourself? Are you still helpless? Are you unable to make decisions on your own? And if you are you ready to challenge those programmed in limitations that maybe someone else has put on you that has long since passed? Have you noticed sometimes that you can be around people, and because they expect you to be less than you are, you do that? It's called dumbing down. To dumb yourself down so that you fit someone else's idea of who you are. You're limiting yourself because of their limited view of you. We don't owe anybody our future. We don't owe anyone the life of living constricted. We don't owe that to anyone. And so if you're interacting with someone who requires you to be small so that they can be large, you can love them, but it might be necessary to love them at a distance. No matter who it is, you do not owe anyone your future. And if they continue to view you as a small child, if they continue to view you in a way that you were so many years ago until you can hardly remember it, if they refuse to allow you to become an adult, no matter who they are, you do not owe that to them. If you haven't tried to discuss who you are today, this might be a good time to do it. Asking yourself tough questions and operating with those answers. This may be a good time to do it. Sometimes we feel extreme emotion when people don't treat us in a way that we feel is respectful. So how do you go about having a talk with someone who has limited you as a helpless child that cannot think through anything or do anything? How do you talk to them? Number one, the first thing that I would begin with is talking to yourself, allowing yourself to really get a good dose of I am an adult. I can think, I can do, I can function. And then allow yourself to be uncomfortable, to think about having a conversation with them, what they might say, what they might do, because they may not do any of those things. But the discomfort that you feel, allow it to be there. Allow it in your mind to be there. And understand that even with that discomfort in place, you're going to exit the conversation just fine. No one is going to push you back into helpless childhood unless you allow them to do so. So no matter what the person's response is to your conversation, you still hold the key to your own life. You do not have to bow down to an antiquated idea of yourself because someone else thinks that. That's on them. I talk to people all the time, and they're so concerned about what the other guy thinks. What the other guy thinks is not your business. That's them. What the other guy's opinion is not your business. You have the right to have an opinion of your own. You have the right to live the life that you want to live. So as you move forward into having a discussion, it's always to remember not to point fingers. It's not necessary to say you did this and you did that. But there is a way to express your feelings by saying, when this happened, this is how I felt. When this was said, this is how I felt. And once you've had the opportunity to express yourself, once you've had the opportunity to allow them to maybe give some enlightenment to you as to why their attitude was what it was or why they did what they did. Once you complete that, you don't have to continue being the helpless child anymore. You don't have to do it their way. You don't have to put yourself back in a demurred state in order to make them feel good. Now the shoe is on the other foot, the ball is in the other court, and it's up to them to determine how they feel about the conversation that was at hand. But at this point, you have been able to speak for yourself and let them know how you feel. So now, in looking back, what if the person who made you feel like a helpless child is no longer here? What if that person has transitioned from this world? You still have the ability to write down what you would say to them, or even to speak it out into the air, to imagine their face and to tell them to their face how this made you feel. You do not have to carry it. But in both situations, whether the person is available for you to speak to right now at this time or someone who has transitioned, remember to forgive. Remember that most people work within the framework of what they know. If they knew better, they might have done better. And then there are times when people knew better and they chose to do what they did. So forgive them. Allow yourself to be free from someone seeking to make you a helpless child, and reclaim a renewed vision for yourself. Determine how you want to live your life and move forward in that way. But it all begins from those tough questions that we have to ask ourselves. Nobody can do that for us. We are the captain of our ship. We hold the keys to whether we stay where we are or whether we move forward with a renewed vision and vigor for where we want to go in life. Everything that we need is at our fingertips, but we have to be brave enough and bold enough to stand up and to receive what we want for our lives. Are you viewing yourself through antiquated eyes? Are you allowing programmed limitations to determine your life's progress? If you are, it's time to get out of the box. This is Dr. Anita. I hope that you have enjoyed this episode. Please visit my website at www.DrAnitaMc.com. Join me on FanBase and on Wisdom. We're moving forward. We're going to accomplish our goals. All we have to do is to determine to take those challenges and turn them into diamonds.